Here we go.
Okay.
We are here. We're back already. It's only been like 1 minute.
1 minute.
But
Not
to you
even.
guys, it's been a little while longer
Right.
than that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed part one of that, the podcast, which is where we're talking double standards here, and we are diving deep. So I let Whitney just kind of interview me with any questions that she had, and she came with it. So my name is Leah. I am your host with the most.
Hostess with the most.
And this is Between the Sheets with Leah. I am a money-making, action-taking, manifesting queen. I'm a photographer. I'm a mother. I am a friend. I am a soulmate. I am a lover. I am a writer. I am a poet maker.
Yes.
I am all that I want to be.
Yep. And you know it's me, WHITNEY period poos.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
Good to see you back.
Miss Whitney. She's on the couch with me. This is what we're doing.
It's my
here.
second time on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yes. And I think you guys liked it because the last podcast that we put out had a lot of views.
Yes.
And so we're just going to stay with it for a while, see how these 30-minute segments are doing. If you guys like them better, comment, like, share, subscribe, and
Talk to
get
us
out there. Yeah.
Yes. Talk about the topics. Message us in the YouTube comments.
Yes,
We want to
yes.
talk to you guys.
So many people reach out to us outside of the YouTube and say, oh my gosh, Reina, I have so much input on this. Well, write them down, please, because that helps us. That actually does help us to gain more followers, to push it out there a little bit more. And we will answer you back there, and if there's great ideas, we might chime in and just bring you on the
Yes.
podcast, as a
Yes.
phone call. So, let's just dive right back in. So we were
Yes.
talking about double standards, and we kind of left off with some of Whitney's questions.
Yes,
and so I'm
we
going to go
did.
back to, I believe it was her second question
Yes.
that you had. And go ahead and
And
ask.
I'll repeat it. And it is, what is the double standard that exists in your family currently at this very moment?
It's funny that you say currently, because it does make you recognize that it is alive and it does happen, and we are all guilty of having double standards.
Yes.
And as much as, we want to live to this golden rule and be, and I'm speaking for myself, I
Right.
want to live as authentically as I can. I want to be the person that I strive to be, which is non-judgmental, and I'm a free spirit. I always have been. I always say I'm a free bird. I'm a bird. My mom will say that I was a wild one, and I just am. I have a very free spirited mind and mindset and soul. I do want to be better every single day. I want to
Right.
make myself better. I want to learn. I want to, love harder and whatnot. And so when you say current double standards, it made me kind of step back like, wow, okay, so what double standards do exist right now in my relationship? And I think one, and we talked about this in relationships, the relationship podcast is money.
Yes.
You
That's
know-
what I was hoping you were going to say.
And so my husband makes really good living. I mean, he makes more
Yeah.
than the regular, probably individual.
Rondo works his ass off.
He works his ass off. He's a foreman at a really big company, and he's doing his damn thing. This is one thing that we always prayed about, was that we wanted him to move up. We wanted him to be with a company where he could have good benefits and have steady work and make good money.
Yeah.
And be hopefully one day in a leadership position, because I saw that in my husband, but I don't believe for the longest time he saw that in
Yeah.
himself. And it actually wasn't me that made him believe it. So
Really?
yeah, it was a friend of his named Bobby. So shout out Bobby, if you see this. I love you for outpouring everything that you did into him, because you made him see himself differently. And so
Aw,
when I
that's
couldn't do it, you did.
amazing.
And I just thank you for that. But I still make more money than him.
Right.
And that's just being honest, open, real, authentic,
Yes.
raw. But I do. And it hasn't always been that way.
Right.
Going back to relationships, I didn't know that I was a go-getter. I've always been a go-getter. I've always wanted more. And I'm not just talking about money. I just more in life, more
Right.
experiences. Being that free spirit, you want to experience everything that you can. You want to touch, feel, taste. So it's almost like going back into that baby form that we were talking about, is be ye yet converted as children, or you can't
Yes.
see the kingdom of heaven, because babies know nothing
Yeah.
but seeing, touching, feeling, and it's just this. It's a wonderful feeling to be open like that.
Yes.
But so going back, here I am. That's my ADHD and my free spirit mind coming out. But there are times when we have a shared bank account, and I know that there's couples out there that don't. There was a girl that, briefly was kind of friends with, and her husband would not allow her to have anything to do with the finances. And when I say allow, I take care of the finances.
Right.
And I've been entrusted to do so because of the track record, I assume. I mean, there was really never a talk of, hey, I'm going to handle this. It just happened.
Right.
And that could have been just because maybe he was forgetful or whatnot. But at any point, he has access to our bank account. He has access to anything that he wants to look at. It's not private information. I just know what's coming in, what's going out, what we have to pay. I always say that if I die, Nando's going to be in a heap load of trouble. And so there are directions for him. And if I can get a couple of, helpers to get him on track, if that ever happens. But it's hard not to just buy what I want whenever I want it. Mm-hmm. And when he buys what he wants, for me to not have that double standard of why are you spending that money? And again, it goes into, then we could have a fight about, well, you make more money, so that's probably why you're, believing that way, whatever, blah, blah. And it's not the way that I feel. It's not like, okay, well, I'm over you and I'm higher. There's many decisions that I consult with Nando on that he has to be on board. It's that whole submissive thing that we just don't mix. That me and submissiveness just doesn't mix a whole lot. But that's probably the biggest one, I would say. I would say there's two. Yeah. And the other one would be, and so money, and let me just end on that. Money is a hard one because he should be able to buy whatever he wants. Right. And he just, for me personally, babe, I love you, doesn't make
the best decisions
sometimes. And so he'll throw it in my face sometimes and say, well, oh yeah, I get it. If it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense because that's what I say.
Right. But that's true.
Chris is over here laughing, but it is. I do like to make money moves that are great, that are soiled into the ground, that are going to uproot some good stuff that can then be replenished and redone. Right. I also know that there are things for just entertainment and just for fun. And I need to be able to let go to and say, okay, that this is for fun. Right. My shoes cost $20 sometimes, and his shoes cost $220. So when I want to buy 10 of them, then I say, well, my shoes were only $20. Yours are $220. Right. So yeah, there's some double standards there for sure. The other one would be, I think, one thing that we've had some problems with inside of our marriages. I guess how relationships work within our marriage, and I think that's been a tough one because Nando plays ball and he plays co-ed, and he plays with women and men, and I've worked in a field with women and men forever, and when I got into this position here at my home, there were some issues with who I was allowing in the house, and just some, and I'm like, dude, you should trust me. Right. I don't really have I don't have a bad track record. Right. And so you should really trust me. And I'm not naive, and I'm not a dumb woman. I always tell him that, but sometimes I feel like there's certain things that are okay for him to do, and that are not okay for me to do. And I have tried to just recently, not even recently, over the last couple of years, say, okay, so this is okay for you. Right. So it's okay for me. Yep. And when I say it like that, it's like, oh shit, it makes him think like, well, wait a minute, is that okay for you or for me? And one particular instance that we had was, there was a girl that he played ball with, and she was bringing a lot of, she also didn't have the best reputation. I'll just put that out there too. Right. But she was bringing a lot of drama to him as far as her personal life and love life and things like that. Right. So mind you, the reputation on top of calling my husband and wanting to talk to him for 30 to 45 minutes to tell him about your relationship, to me is not that appropriate.
It's not appropriate. Especially with what has happened. It's definitely not appropriate.
And I think that is probably the underlying thing, is that my track record's good, and so I don't know if that's a double standard. My track record's good. Yours is hasn't been the best, and so maybe this is not the best scenario for you.
I see it as those are your boundaries. Yeah, those are your boundaries. That's what you set into place that is going to make you feel comfortable.
Right. But I have a lot of
forward.
individuals like Chris in my life.
Right.
Or, you know, there's been Dana Keese in my life. There's been Trent's in my life.
Right.
There's been Michael's in my
Right.
life, you know, where, and then there's been a gay man. Again, I'm looking for a gay best friend. I love you guys. Where they've come to me and
Right.
we've had very, very deep conversations about life, about relationships. And I think for me, I'm always trying to give good knowledge and wisdom, you know, based off of that. And I'm sure that that's probably Nando's stance on it as well.
Right.
And maybe Nando, I feel like he sometimes feels he doesn't know other people's intentions.
Right.
And I get that. I get that
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. And
Yeah.
so there's sometimes that I have to put myself and step back and say, okay, let me put myself in his shoes.
Right.
If this were done to me, how would I feel about it?
Yep.
And so there are some double standards there. And vice versa for him too. There's, you know, hey, I can go and you go out and spend the night with a couple and a guy and
Right.
a girl and whatever, and that's okay. Could I do that? Is that okay?
Right.
If there's a guy and a girl and, you know, they're married,
Right.
because, you know, that's supposed to be the end all. Like they're married, so it's
Right.
okay.
Yeah, not always.
Let me tell you about married couples
Right.
that we
Not
you know,
always.
so marriage to me, it's there's neither here nor there. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're married or not. Yeah.
There's just things that you do and things that you don't.
That's right. And so is that okay? And particularly, I also remember one instance where I think it was you and I that went out. And
Yes.
he went out of town.
Yeah.
And I asked you.
Yeah.
It was me saying, hey, you want to go out and have some dinner? And, you know, let's just go hang
Yep.
out. I was kid-free. I believe I was kid-free, or the kids were taken care of, whatever. And you were like, yep, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
bounce. And so we did. We went downtown and we had a really nice dinner. We had drinks. We were laughing. We had the most wonderful time. And
was
I
fun.
wasn't calling in because most of the time when Fernando is out of town, when I would call him, he's like, well, I'm with
Playing.
my family. I'm doing
Yeah.
this. I'm doing that. Like, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. I don't want to be a bother, you know? And sometimes I get upset about that. Then now it's like, okay, well, now you go do your thing, have fun, and I'm gonna be out. And
Same
it's kind
needs
of
to apply for me.
Right. It's kind of that double standard in there. So, and so when, you know, I didn't think it was a big deal to tell him, hey, I'm going to have dinner with
Right.
Whitney. And, you know, I just didn't. And, we ended up going, I think, to Jose Mondude's and having dessert and just
Yep.
hanging out. And we got back in at like 10:30, 11
Yeah.
o'clock, you know.
It
But
wasn't even
he
late,
was
yeah.
upset.
Yeah.
He was so upset, you know. And I'm just like, I am not out in the club shaking my ass. I'm not like,
Right.
you know, coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's just, that's just not me. And
Right.
that's not what I'm about. But he was very upset about it. Mind you, he decided to go out with one of his boys.
Right.
And this friend of him, you know, has a bit of a reputation himself. I
Right.
love him to death, but
Right.
he does have a reputation of being a little bit of a playboy. And wanted to go out and have drinks. Okay, good, great, have a good time.
Right.
You know, actually, no, it was not that. I'm sorry. It was they were going to go on bike riding. They were going to go on motorcycles. They were going to go, you know, ride motorcycles. And he was giving Nando his other motorcycle to ride. Okay, cool, have a good time.
Right.
Well, they ended up at a bar.
Yeah.
Didn't call me.
Yeah.
Didn't tell me. Didn't say I was at a bar. Didn't say, hey, I
Yeah.
just want to let you know. And I asked him why. So when this was brought up to me and I says, why is this okay for you
yeah.
and not okay for me? You didn't call me and tell me that you were stopping at
Right.
a bar. I didn't call you and tell you I was going to have dinner with Whitney. Like,
Right.
why? So why is it different?
It's not.
It's not. And those are the double standards that we live with in, I think, our relationships,
Yeah.
that we have to really recognize and say, okay, at the end of the day, if there's trust, there's trust. If I'm going to go out and cheat on you, there's nothing you can do to stop me.
At all.
If you're going to go out and cheat on me, there's nothing that I can do to stop you. If we're going to allow something to happen within our marriage and within our relationship, there's nothing that either one of us, we could drive ourselves crazy
Yes.
thinking, what if, and what if this person this, and what if this person that. And even if it's not my intentions and you're worried about somebody else's intentions, you know, it's still up to me
Yeah.
at the end of the day to say yes or no.
Yes.
And it's up to him as well. And so that was the thinking that I had to kind of go through, and I've really been good with it. And I need him to kind of get on the same board with me, because I think something shifted in our relationship where there was some, you know, and I just say it's insecurities. It's
Yeah.
insecurities of, you
Yes.
know, that I'm going to either, you know, not be true, or you don't think our relationship's strong enough, but like, why are we living on that bridge?
That limbo.
You know what I mean? Why are
Yeah.
we even living there when it doesn't even exist?
Yeah.
It's just these made up things that we have in our mind, right? Fear.
Yep.
Fear is that's everything. And what do they say about fear? That it's the gosh dang it. It's Chris, I don't know if you can look it up, but there's an acronym that they say for fear, which is something that just doesn't exist. It's like that will never actually really exist. But we put so much thought into it and create scenarios and worry.
And spiral,
And spiral. So what is it? False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
False evidence appearing real. So based on fear, we create and then we spiral.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's the majority of our lives, is that, you know, whether we make a decision to start the business, to not start the business, to invest, to not invest, to love, to not love, to let my heart be open, you know, to start a friendship, to not, to everything.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
So great question. Okay,
I have
sorry.
one more.
I kind of speared off there.
You're good.
But
I have one more question. What is the biggest double standard that has
business
gone on with not with the business, but within friendships?
So let me back up, because you did ask me about the business, and I don't think I answered
that was the second one.
I?
No, I think you did.
No, I didn't. I don't think I answered business. You asked me business wise, like kind of double standard, have, you know, and you asked me in the context of the
guy.
Yes. But I wanted to double back on that because Whitney and I have had some pretty deep conversations one-on-one. Whitney obviously came to me as a business associate. I say that, it sounds so weird to say that, like Whitney's my business associate. But
yes, I am.
We weren't friends ahead of time.
Right.
Some of the other people that I worked with have been friends ahead of time.
Yes.
Whitney and I built quite a wonderful friendship inside of the business here. But at the same token, I've had to, you know, be business Leah and boss Leah at times. And there's times that I'm friend Leah, and there's times that I'm spiritual Leah. And yes, there are differences between all of them.
Yes.
You have to have boundaries in all of them. And I asked you how that was for you. Like, how do you turn that off? How do you turn off, you know, me being business Leah to this is Leah.
Well, especially when I was living here.
Right. Yeah. And then on top of that, roommate Whitney and Leah. I also wanted to be sure that within our relationships that I wasn't setting double standards that I wasn't abiding by, that, you know, that I held you accountable to, but that I wasn't abiding by. And I think that I'm constantly checking myself in those areas, that I need to make sure that I'm okay with this if I'm not okay, you know, with that. And really cross-checking myself in that, because I believe that there's some areas that I can be better on in. I always say people, I need them to check me. You know, I said that on the last podcast, is check me, but it doesn't happen too often. And I'm not saying that because I want it to happen too often, but I'm saying if I need to be, then I need to be. And I say that it hasn't happened too often because I want to make sure that I know how to react when it does.
Right.
You know, that I'm like taking in what I say that I'm going to do.
Right.
If you check me on something and I said I'm going to give you an open forum, well, then I damn well better be living up to that.
Right.
You know, and not get upset or not get my feelings hurt. I say that, you know, I have, you know, big girl panties on or whatnot. And when that hits the fan, I need to make sure that I do. And so it hasn't come up too many times where I've had to say, okay, nope, you're right, or I need to do this. I think often because I'm so inside of my head that I tend to find them myself, the idiocracies myself, and then say, hey, let me talk to you about this. How do you feel about this?
Right.
At least,
yes,
that's my perspective on it. But, and then you said, okay, so, and then asked me, the last part was,
within friendships.
Okay.
Within friendships. Accountability, not accountability, I'm on the last podcast. Taking, you know, double standards into perspective. What have you dealt with it with, like, it can be with a friendship with a male, it could be a friendship with a female, but friendship.
When you said that, I just like a bunch of different things popped up for me. I think
it's a lot. It's double standards. I feel like just as much as they run rampant in your family, it runs rampant within your friends and your community that you keep around you.
Yeah.
Perfect example, you know, who I'm living with, you know, they're currently going through stages right now of change. And, you know, it was okay for one guy to come into the house and behave a certain way. And now that another guy is in there behaving a certain way, then now we're not going to be judgmental. It's not okay. So that's a double standard.
Yes. Yeah. And you got to be able to call some of those things out, guys, but healthy wise, you know what I mean? Like, because again, we all have lived with some type of hypocrisy in our life and double standards. And sometimes we just need help recognizing them, saying, hey, that, you know, you're kind of doing the same thing. And that's where I feel like with Nando in our relationship that I have said, okay, those words. So if that's okay for you, that must be okay for me. Yes. And when you say that, tell me how you feel about that when I say that to you. So that's okay for you. It must be okay for me. It makes you think, okay, well,
what have I been doing?
Is that okay for me? Or wait, is that okay if they do that to me? How do I feel about that? And I try to live, okay, so friendship wise, I think that's what I try to live by as well.
Right.
Is that, look, I'm loyal to you to a fault.
Right.
If my loyalty, if you break my loyalty, then I'm kind of, c'est la vie. You know what I mean? And I hate to be so cutthroat, but I just don't have time to waste.
Right.
I want to be invested in relationships that are vested back in me, that see my value, that see, you know, what I can bring to the table, and vice versa. I want to see that as well and not waste my time. And so that would be the question I think that we would have to ask ourselves in our friendships to say, if you did this to me, would that have been okay for you?
Right.
And if it's not, well, then there's a problem there. And so I think personally, I used to be a jealous friend.
Yeah.
I was a jealous friend.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit on the podcast, Bossy.
Yeah, but jealous friend.
Yeah.
So Bossy was one character. Jealousy was
jealous
another
how?
one.
Like jealous of other people being like your friend being friends with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, you know, this is, and what I know now is that came out of insecurity.
Right.
Insecurities within my friendships that weren't healthy as well, though. So it wasn't completely just a Leah thing. It was like these people, like they are talking about you behind your back, and more over it happened, you know. And then I started to learn, like, okay, my friend Crystal, I said this before. She was one that said I don't do threesomes. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do threesomes? And she said, basically, I won't do it. Like, if you're like, I'll be cordial with all your friends. We'll be happy, this and that, but I'm not going to be friends with them because it leaves too much room for shit to go astray. And your friendship, I value more than starting friendships with other people. Right. I was like, wow, okay. And at the same token, the healthy Leah was like, well, there can be 3 individuals that are completely healthy that have a great relationship, and they each hold their own weight and value and say, hey, let's not do this, or let's not talk about this person, or let's not, you know what I mean, if something does come up. But we're all human. Yeah. We are all human. And it's so easy to get caught up in gossip. It's so easy to get caught up in talking about somebody, and we mean well, but there's no solution to that.
Right.
And a lot of the times when people are talking, I think that's what you need to line up to, is what you're talking about. Is there a solution to that problem, or are you just talking to talk?
Talking. Yeah.
You know, if you have a solution, great. Maybe you're trying to, you know, figure out what that solution is with that person. Well, then bring it to the other person after that. Don't leave it open-ended. And so I was a jealous friend, and but I think my double standard was like, I could be friends with your friends, though, you know, but you could be friends with my friends. And that was something that I fought so hard against to myself as well. Like, you know, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't like how it made me feel. Honestly, at the end of the day, I didn't like how it made me feel as a person. Right. I wanted to be open. I wanted to genuinely be like, yeah, be their friend, without being fake about it. Right. And that's just being real. Like, that's me being the realest of the real, is that, and I still have issues with it. I still have issues trusting that people are going to keep the, my best, what's the word?
Interest.
Yes. My best interest at heart within another friendship. You know, I've been burned a lot, and I think that makes me have a hard exterior, in many cases, and not want to get too close to people, you know, and that's a me thing. It's not a them thing. It's a me thing, whether or not I want to be vulnerable. There's still days that I get jealous. There's still things that, you know, come up that in my book that may be a double standard, in the fact that I'm like, they're doing that. Yeah. And then I'm thinking, well, wait, did I do that? Have I done that? Right. Am I being that way? Do I, you know what I mean? And so I feel like I'm really, really good at owning my position.
Yes.
And taking a step back and saying, you know, okay, yeah, I can see your point. Even when I've had, you know, fallouts with family members or friendships, my door is open.
Right.
At any point, my door is open. You want to walk through there and have a conversation, that's fine. We can have a conversation, but be ready for the conversation as well, because I'll be open for it, but you're going to hear me out, and you're going to hear where I really felt this was wrong. If we've already had a conversation,
Right.
there's really no need to have another conversation. What do you need to tell me anymore?
Right.
You know what I mean? If something has happened again, like we don't see eye to eye or whatnot, but I don't know if I answered that right for you. I don't know if that was,
I
know.
think you did. I think you answered it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to call me, that I had a possessive nature about me. And Dana said that one time, I think, and it kind of like, it made me have like a bruise. Like, yeah, I was like, oh my God, because I think he touched on something that I was like, ew, like that was me. I was, and he said something about, I don't even remember what it was, like, oh, you're, I can't remember. It was maybe somebody wanted to use him for something, or I don't know, but again.
But we do get that double standard, because let me see Dana post anything about a photographer. I'm on it immediately, like, Leah. Yeah, did you see that?
No, and that was funny. Even the post, and he knew. He absolutely knew. Like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. Like, I don't. I do believe that he would have my best interest to say, hey, like, if there was a job, I think, you know what I mean.
But I still like giving him shit.
You never know. You never know people's intentions. You don't know. And usually it's to each his own. It's like it's about me, myself, and I.
Right.
And I don't like to live that way. Yeah. I really don't. Yeah. I get it. I get you're trying to make a living for your family. Right. I get it. But with standards and with integrity, you should be doing that. Did you need the money that bad?
Right.
Did you need it that bad?
Right.
Was that really worth it? Was it worth losing?
Right.
Something that was potentially amazing. I think, there's definitely some conversations to be had in that as well, because I'm all about my family, and I'm all about, they are first in my life, my kids, but I have integrity about what I do. Right. If it feels ugly, or if it feels grimy, or if it feels off, or if it feels like I need to have a conversation with somebody because this just doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't. Yeah. At the end of the day, it probably isn't, I'm
with you. Well, those were my questions.
Yeah. I loved them. They were tough. They were tough questions. I do want to, talk about something within this whole nature of double standards, and that's Romans 8:7-8. It says the mindset on flesh is hostile towards God. The mindset on flesh is hostile towards God, for it does not subject itself to the law of God.
Oh, it doesn't.
For it is not even able to do so. And those who are in the flesh cannot please God. Okay? So I bring this up because hypocrisy, double standards, how we live our life, this is something to really check ourselves with, is to understand that our flesh is always going to fight our spirit.
Yes.
People say, good intentions are everything. Well, intentions are shit if there's no action that is taken. Like, I'm sorry, your intentions mean shit if you're not taking action. And that's with anything. Oh, I meant to get you that present, but I didn't go get it. Right. Then why tell me?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what, so you can make yourself feel better about it? Like, or I was gonna, and guilty, I'm telling you right now, I mean to text some people that are on my mind or that, and I don't. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, but I won't sit there and be like, well, every once in a while, I guess I do. I'll be like, yeah, I meant to text you, but I didn't, but I do know that I have good intentions, but I also am making excuses, and the flesh is always going to fight the spirit. Our flesh is something that just desires everything that is contrary to the spirit of, who we are. And I think that scripture in itself is really good to think about our own justifications, where we make things right for us. It's crazy how we live to make things conform to our life and make ourselves believe that this is okay.
Yes.
And it is a form of double standards that I can sit there and say, well, I believe in the word, and the word says this, but I'm going to make up this portion because it feels good to me. And again, word can be interpreted many different ways. Yes. And I do say that open wholeheartedly, because I can be given a scripture and it hits me in my heart because I'm going through something, and it hits me differently than it hits you.
Yes.
But let's not pretend that we don't understand what the word says. Let's just not pretend that we don't understand. Like, many, 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 many things are black and white.
Right.
And I feel like, with that being said, look, if you're going to live that way, live that way.
Yeah.
It's great. Fine.
Be prepared to deal with the consequences.
You know what I mean? And if you're going to live in a way that you feel like you're not, then fine. Don't do it. If you're vaccinated or you're unvaccinated,
right.
Great. That's totally up to you.
Right.
That's your choice. But don't tell me I got to do it. You
right.
know what I mean? Woo.
I mean, but that's a valid thing.
And I'm just saying is that we have to understand that we have two natures about us, whether we want to believe so or not, whether we want to admit to it or not. We have two natures about us, one that's constantly battling the other.
Yes.
So we are all guilty of being hypocrites. We are all guilty of having double standards. This is not about you did this. This is about how do we work through it?
Right.
How do we work through those double standards? How do we identify? It's a huge word we're going to use over and over again in probably all the podcasts, because identifying issues is the key to moving forward. If you can't see it, then you can't change it.
Well, and identifying and knowing that a double standard doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Right.
You know, it just means, and that's, I think, the hardest part in the double standard is humbling yourself and saying,
I did that.
You're allowed to feel how you want to feel, and I'm allowed to feel how I want to feel, and let's respect each other and meet in the middle and just say, let's agree to disagree.
Yes.
Because everybody's experience is different.
Yes. And I believe it was Paul that said, why is it that I do the things that I don't want to do, and the things that I do want to do, I don't do?
Yeah.
He was talking about double standards and hypocrisy. I want to do this. My intentions are great, but I don't do it.
Right.
I'm going to preach to all these individuals.
Right.
Let me just tell you. He was saying, he wrote the latter part of the scriptures.
Right.
I'm going to preach to all these individuals, but I'm also going to admit that I don't do the things that I said that I wanted to do, and that my heart is calling me to do. My spirit is saying do. My flesh is calling me to do something different. I want to do these things, but I don't do them.
Right.
You guys, human being.
Yeah. That's the flesh.
That's the flesh, but it's human being, So we want rights for people. We want individualistic rights. Respect me, respect what I do, respect what I believe, but I'm going to take this away from you.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a double standard.
Yes.
Great. Go be free. Go be gay. Be transgender. Go be heterosexual. Go live in the church. Don't live in the church. Go be a Muslim. Go. Fine. Go do whatever you want to do. We live in a country that was built on the foundation of being free.
Right.
If you choose to live here, then you have those rights to make to choose what you want to do. Yeah. You really do. Along with the national anthem, whether we believe it or not, you have a right to not do it.
You do.
And those are the foundations of the country that we were built on. But also, don't try to make me.
Don't force somebody.
Right. But how do you live on the in-between of that?
And that's why I got in that argument, because I was trying to force that subject on him. Like, no, I've been a part of the community. I've seen what it's done to other people. And as uncomfortable as it makes me feel to see it, you're wrong by saying if you support, and that's when it came in. Oh, I have friends that are gay. I have friends that have been in the LGBT community. And I'm like, well, would you have the same conversation with them that you're having with me now? Like, do you really support?
Yeah.
Or are you supporting for what's convenient for you?
Let's be real, raw, and authentic here.
Like, it's comfortable for you to see two women, but it's uncomfortable for you to see two men. Neither of them are wrong, and you say you're supporting the cause, but are you?
So you have a bias.
And I don't feel like there's space for being biased.
Well, there can't be, and that's what I'm saying. Where do you live in the middle? Yeah. Where do you guys live in the middle? How do you live in the middle?
Right.
If you know that you want these equal rights, and you want this, and you want that, then how can you also say, because Christians get bashed left and right. Oh, you Christians believe this. If I went on a forum and said, oh, you black people believe this, oh, you gay people believe this, it's over. Yep. But it's okay for anybody to say, hey, you Christians believe this way. Well, I'm a Christian, and I'm telling you right now, I don't believe that way.
Right.
But you're already putting me in this box because of these people. Yep. So do we do the same thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then do I put other people in a box? No, we don't. Because then that's a double standard. It's not saying, hey, these people, there are certain people, there's all assholes in every single culture, there's assholes everywhere.
Right.
Where do you then see that what you're speaking is also a double standard? You got to start identifying those things. Yeah. Because it's ugly.
It was. And in the moment when I was checked, she was just like, my roommate was just like, that's how he feels.
Yeah.
That's his opinion. She was like, and I get his opinion from the opposite side. You know, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Even though I disagree.
I say all the time that I think that, you know, that men are beautiful in their own way, but women are beautiful.
Gorgeous. And she brought that up. She said, as women, we can look at another woman and say, she's beautiful. She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But can a man be out in public and see a man and go, oh, he's really handsome or he's sexy without a woman looking at him and going, are you gay?
Double standard.
That's a double standard.
Yeah. If I sit there and be like, wow, she's gorgeous. And then I heard my husband say, wow, he is handsome. I'd be like,
what?
Like, what the hell did you just like, what?
What do
because
you mean?
that's not, you guys, that's a perfect example.
And that's also, so when we actually got into the grit of the conversation, I feel like that's what society has trained us or pushed on us from day one. Men are given this level of sense and power and all of these things. Masculinity.
You better, you better suck it up. Like I'm guilty. I used to tell my boys all the time, suck it up.
Yeah.
You better suck it up. Like, stop crying, suck it up. And I'm like, oh my God.
If we were raised as children in a community where seeing a man and a man be together just as freeing as a woman and a woman, we wouldn't even be dealing with it.
Right. Well, you mean a lot of things, even like in Europe. So let's talk about being naked.
Yeah.
They're naked everywhere, and we flip out. Like, not everybody. Everybody's like, some people are like, no, I love that. Like, go ahead, be naked. Go run around. But their culture there is open. They don't look at skin the same way. They don't look at body. Like, they're just, they walk around naked all the time, and that's just normal. And to us, it's just different. And so we don't. But
there are some people that are
sometimes.
like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
No, how dare you walk around me with your chest out?
Right. Well, look at breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Let's talk about breastfeeding for a second. I mean, you guys, the list goes on. And this is what I mean is that me personally, I'm just going to say it, and I may get beat up for this. I really may. I'm sorry. I don't want to see your titty out.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I'm sorry. I get it. I'm a mother.
Right.
I've breastfed my kid. For me personally, I don't want to pull it out in front of everybody and just be like, here you go. Like, just because I can. I'm sorry. That's me. Right. That is me. I know God made me to feed my child. Right. I know that I have breasts that produced milk that were able to, but I personally chose to do it. Now, but I'm not going to go up to somebody and tell them that they're wrong for doing it.
Right. That's what I was just about to ask you. If you walked by it and seen it, of course you're not going to go sit down right next to her.
I'm not going to be like, oh my God, like she just needs to put her boob away. Like, no, that's her choice. That's what she feels comfortable with. She could be even from Europe. She doesn't have to be from Europe. There's just women that will plop it out and do it, and they feel 100% comfortable. That's fine.
And but
don't push yours on me.
Yep. I'll throw another thing out there compared to, because I had a friend that at the time was working for a radio station out here, and I'm not going to say names. I'll tell you afterwards if you want to know, but he was terminated for making a comment about breastfeeding. And it was almost to the aspect of, well, it's acceptable for a man to whip his penis out and piss outside.
It's acceptable for a man to be outside without a shirt on, but it's not acceptable for a woman. That's a double standard. So then if I lived by that bias and said, no, like women should be outside with their, boobies out, like then I need to be able to say they can do whatever they want.
Yes.
I didn't grow up in Europe. I was not raised that way. In our culture here, it was different. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Again, just like I say, and let me be very clear about this. When I say don't push it on me, I'm not saying that she can't do it, or a woman and a mother can't do it, and it's done.
Right.
We can do whatever we want in this damn country. Like we are so damn free. It's probably some of the reasons why we're so messed up, though.
Right. Yeah.
But for me personally, it's just not something that I would do. That's just me. That's my opinion. But I'm not going to say you can't do it.
Right.
I'm not.
I have an example for you. So Leah came to my new apartment yesterday, and we were hanging out by the pool. And I want to bring up a topic about double standards about kids. Yeah. So is it would it have been inappropriate for me to say to those kids, you better go sit down and get out of here spraying all this water? Or like, was it wrong with the way the father was talking to the kids? Like, don't do that. Don't do that. But we're sitting here and we're having this judgment, right? We're having this double standard to a certain extent. Well, this is how I raised my kids, so this is how you need to raise your kids.
Well,
was he in the wrong? Was he in the wrong for letting them run around like crazy maniacs?
I think the difference is that we didn't say anything. that we were talking and we were giggling
Right.
about how like,
I
I
thought
will
it was
whoop that
funny.
kid's ass. Like I will whoop my kid's ass. Like if they acting like that, I'm gonna whoop their ass. And I have whooped my kid's ass, and they're fine and they're good kids.
Right.
And you may have not whooped your kid's ass, and they might be fine and good kids. You know, our culture
Different eras.
was we got our ass whooped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Because I couldn't have behaved like that.
mind you, yeah, like again, my kids also my kids wouldn't act certain ways either.
Yeah.
So that does tell you a little
Yes.
bit about parenting, because my kids wouldn't cut up like certain ways. Like they just
Right.
didn't.
They knew
Will
better.
kids be kids? Yes, absolutely.
Right.
But are there certain things that it's just like that? Like they need to calm down. But I will say that. So yeah. So when you brought this up, you and I were in the airport. And I think about this because I'm guilty of judging.
I do the
And
same thing.
I will tell you that I read something that it really changed my heart, because I
Yeah.
was like, wow, I never, took consideration to put myself in their shoes, or to consider what they've gone through, or what their, scenario is. And we've got to do that. That is the standard of quitting these double standards, and quitting these judgments, and quitting this hypocrisy, is to put ourselves in other people. You guys, we've got to start living in a different way if we want hope, love for our kids, for our country, for it's got to change. And we were in the airport, and there was a kid that was cutting up. And I would usually be the first to be like, I'll whoop that kid's ass.
Yeah.
But you were like irritated as shit. You were like,
Yes.
that kid is raising hell and this and that. And you were like, I would not behave like that, which is true. Like
Right.
but then I think I asked you, I said, but
Yeah.
what if that kid has autism?
Right.
What if that kid has a mental, disorder that we're not aware of, and the mom is doing the best that she can. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and we are so quick to judge, and that I was watching. And it was such a good research thing for me, because after reading that, I was watching how people stared at that mom.
Yeah.
And it was so disheartening.
Well,
It was
it's embarrassing.
so disheartening.
It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating, and you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. I seen a post, and I think I seen it on one of the Facebook pages last night, but it was a picture of a chef in the back of a kitchen, and he was like knelt over on his knees, and he looked like he was praying, or he was going through something, obviously. And it checked me, because you know how I am about my food.
Yeah.
And if it comes messed up and wrong, I'm cutting up. And
Yeah.
I'm getting something for free,
Yeah.
or the meal's going to be, we're going to find a way to correct this.
Yeah.
But the essence in the post, I'll have to find it so you can read it, but it basically says, like, you never know how your complaints affect other people. Like, that chef could have been on his last leg, getting ready to get fired, just made a simple mistake. Like, and your one selfish complaint and negative thought about, because your food didn't come out right, like,
Yes.
please just take a second and think about the person that's preparing your food for you.
Yeah, it's good.
And I was
That's
like,
so good. Here's
"Oh."
the difference between, I think, people that just throw out opinions, just for the hell of it, and the people that are actually doing something different. Is that we recognize that we're human. We recognize that we've had judgments. We recognize that we've judged people. I've judged women. I have judged men. I have judged couples. I have judged people. And I recognize that and can say, I'm guilty.
Right.
I've done that, and I want to change that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to the people that are just so arrogant and so
Yes.
like they don't see no wrong. They don't, this is the way it is, and that's the way it is. And I cannot tolerate those people. If you have nothing to learn and you're just
Right.
that's it, then we don't really need to talk, because
Yeah.
I'm all about learning. I want to hear about what you know. Teach me, tell me, show me. I love to understand, even if I don't agree with you. Shit. Chris sitting in
Yeah.
here, we bring that up all the time. He has 100% different beliefs than me. If I were such
Yes.
an ugly, judgmental person, he wouldn't be sitting in my office.
Right.
It would be like, oh no, he's a devil word. Chris,
you-
come stand up really quick. Come over here. I want you guys to see Chris's shirt.
You'll need to see Chris's shirt. What does it say?
Black craft coat.
Oh! Look at Leah's face.
So it is what it is. Hey, I love Chris. Chris is my dude. I have much love for him. I've told him I believe that Jesus loves him. I believe that God loves him. Whether he believes that, it's not, you know what I mean? That's all I can say is that at the end of the day, and I believe that Chris also is still here knowing that I'm a Christian and probably has had some very, very, I don't know, maybe has had some really bad experience with Christians, that he could sit here and say, she's different though. You know what I mean?
Well, you guys are respecting each other. Mm-hmm. That's all that it boils down to, is you're respecting how each other believes and thinks, and you're giving your guys' friendship, relationship, business, whatever you want to call it, space for there to not be judgment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and he said because of that allows us to deepen our relationship, which is 100% true, because I'm open to saying, okay, well, how do you what is your thought about that? Or what do you think? I mean, there was a scripture that came up the other day and I said, well, how did you interpret that? And it was completely different than I did.
Right.
I didn't say, oh, you're wrong. That's it. This is the way. That's it. This is how it is. I'm sorry, but the word is alive and active. And if it speaks to him in that way, well, then maybe there's something for him in that.
Exactly. You never know.
That's the way it speaks to him. I'm not going to say you're wrong.
I would have considered her my friend at the time, but when I was working for the tattoo shop, we had a female tattoo artist there that is 100% a devil worshiper. Mm-hmm. She does rituals, she does all of these things. So in the beginning of me hanging out with her and getting to know, we used to go out, hang out together, and I thought to myself, am I doing something wrong by being friends with or associating with and being around somebody who worships the devil? Mm-hmm. I don't think God would want me to be around that. But the more and more I hung out with her, I realized at the end of the day, she's still just a person. Mm-hmm. And she's not this horned, evil person that, some Christians can, put these people out to be, or atheists.
I think that's a good ending point for this podcast, and just give our listeners something to think about. The word says, basically, that bad company corrupts good character.
Yes.
And some people will huff and scoff about that, okay? Because they'll be like, oh, so here's a double standard for you. Oh, that's like, I can't, that why would they even say that? Like, so they can't be around me. And I'm not, they may not even consider themselves bad. So maybe they won't think that at all. They'll be like, well, I'm not bad, so they're not even thinking that. Okay, but then let's think about being around somebody who's lazy, or being around somebody who doesn't have the same drive or mindset as you. Then is it okay for you to be around them? And you might say yes. You might say, yep, that's 100% okay. Then I would ask you is, how is it affecting your life?
Right.
And is it affecting your life? If it's not affecting your life and you're able to be around, that's, I think, why so many people say, show me your 5 friends, show me the 5 people that you're around, and I'll show you who you are.
Yeah.
And, I really think that is something to think about. I do believe that people can leave a residue on us. Mm-hmm. I do believe that they can leave bad habits and bad things that rub off on us. And I believe that, we do have to be careful with our space. Would I go and hang out with a devil worshiper? Well, I have one. I don't know if he's a devil worshiper. I really don't. Sorry, Chris. That was horrible. I would say that somebody that believes in cults or this or that, you know what I mean? He's in my office, but I believe also that my stance and my what I believe in and the strength that I carry is strong enough myself. Would I go out and go party and go and be in, probably not. Yeah, I probably wouldn't put that's not, we don't have the same like ideas, and I probably wouldn't, but that also doesn't mean that I couldn't get to know somebody on a personal level without, because again, when we talk about I am at the beginning of the show, all they are labels.
Yeah. Yes.
And you are what you believe you are. Plain and simple. Like, you are what you believe you are. And I don't want to limit myself to just labels. So that's why I think I say so many different affirmations for myself, because I am so much more. Yes. I am that I am, and if I limit myself to just those labels, man, like, I think that's killing. That's killing my identity. That's I'm literally limiting who I am by creating a label for myself. Yes. And so then would I say, well, that person is that? Well, then I'm labeling them, and that's a double standard.
Yes.
So think about that. Give us your guys' thoughts.
Yes, please.
Man, I think we went over even the hour. So I don't know maybe we're going to break. I don't know. I think we went 45 and 45, something like that. But you guys, like, subscribe, comment. This one was
Please.
deep. I
This
want
is
to
a good
hear
one.
your thoughts. I mean, we got into a lot of stuff here.
Different topics.
And, I may not agree with what you put on there. Be respectful. If you can't be respectful, then keep your damn opinion to yourself. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, you know, we live in a society and a culture that thinks it's okay to say whatever the hell that they want to say to people. You know, that just shows your character. Honestly, at the end of the day, that shows who you are. And if you can't be respectful about it, then I really don't want to hear you, because I'll be respectful for you. And to you, and I expect the same, and that's the demand of respect that I carry. Like, I demand respect, and so if you don't want to give it, then that's fine. We don't need to listen to it.
Right.
I don't need to hear you. You're not on the.
But be open to giving us perspective.
But be open, yes, because we are open to hearing it, and we are open to respectfully agreeing to disagree.
Yes.
So that's it, guys. Until next time. Oh, really quick. Whoa, I almost stopped. What are we talking about next time?
Next time you just said it earlier.
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability, yeah.
So we're going to talk about vulnerability, because I really quick, I want to say that
I don't want to
watched
talk
a
about
show
being vulnerable.
on being vulnerable and how it has to coexist with being courageous. And so if you consider yourself to be courageous or to have courage, then you had to have vulnerability. It had to exist. And if you don't, then you don't have courage.
Yeah.
And that's something to really think about. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. Until next time, guys, this is Between the Sheets. Yeah.
Between the sheets, what? Between the sheets, what? Between the sheets, what? Between the sheets, what?
Woo, it's hot in here.
Yes, it is.